You ever just stop and wonder how the websites you use every day actually come to life? I'm not talking about the deep-down technical stuff with servers and cables. I mean the visual magic, the stuff you actually see and click on. Well, it all boils down to this incredible partnership between two core languages, HTML and CSS. They are, quite literally, the duo that builds our entire online world.
So that brings up the big question, right? How in the world does a developer take a file of plain, boring text and transform it into a gorgeous, interactive website? It really does seem like some kind of wizardry, but believe me, it's a system that's as elegant as it is powerful.
Okay, let's break this down. The best way to wrap your head around it is with a simple analogy. Just think of HTML as the skeleton of a web page. Its job is to provide the raw structure, the bones. It says, this is a head, this is an arm, this is a leg. But a skeleton on its own is, well, it's just bones. That's where CSS comes in. CSS is the clothes, the hair, the style. It's everything that makes that skeleton look like a unique person.
And this whole system wasn't just some random idea. It was born out of total necessity. See, back in the early 90s, people were trying to make HTML do everything, structure and style. And it was becoming an absolute mess, just totally unwieldy. So in 1994, this web pioneer, Håkon William Lee, basically said, hold on, there has to be a better way, and proposed a separate language just for styling. So let's start with that foundation, the skeleton itself. We're talking about hypertext markup language, or as everyone calls it, HTML. And remember, its one and only job is to give our content meaning and structure.
The way HTML works is by wrapping your content in things called elements. You can think of them as little labels. For instance, you see those P tags? By wrapping a sentence in them, you're not just writing text. You're telling the browser, hey, pay attention. This thing right here, this is a paragraph.
And that's the absolute key here. HTML is all about semantics. It's about the meaning. It defines what's a heading, what's a link, what's a button. It also uses these little extra instructions called attributes to add functionality. For example, the href attribute on a link is what tells the browser, when someone clicks this, go to this specific web address. It's all about the what, not how it looks.
Okay, so we've got our skeleton. It's structured, it's meaningful, but it's pretty plain. It's time to get it dressed. And that's where CSS, or cascading style sheets, comes into the picture. This is the web's wardrobe.
CSS works with a really simple concept, rules. A CSS rule is just a set of instructions that you write to tell the browser exactly how to style a piece of your HTML. Think of it like a design manual for dressing up our skeleton.
And every single one of these rules follows this dead simple three-part recipe. First, you have the selector. That's which HTML element you want to style, like a big H1 heading. Second, you have the property. That's what you want to change about it, like its color. And third, you have the value. That's how you want to change it, say, to blue. Selector, property, value. That's it.
And boom, here's the magic. That one little rule we just talked about, H1 color blue. That's all it takes. The browser sees that instruction, and instantly, our plain black and white heading gets a total makeover. It's simple, but it's incredibly powerful.
So if HTML is the skeleton and CSS is the wardrobe, an important question comes up. Why don't they live in the same closet? Why do developers keep them in completely separate files? Well, there's a really, really good reason for that. This developer on Reddit just hits the nail on the head. If you mix your HTML and CSS together, making simple updates becomes a total nightmare. Just imagine your website has 100 pages, and you decide you want to change the color of all your links. If they were mixed, you'd have to go edit 100 separate files. But by keeping them separate, you change one line of code in your one CSS file, and the entire site updates instantly.
And the crazy part is how simple the connection is. It all comes down to this one little line of code. You just pop this single link tag into your HTML file, and it acts like a bridge, telling the browser, hey, go grab all the style rules from that file over there and apply them to me.
Okay, so we've got color and fonts down, but how does CSS control the entire layout of a page? Now this right here is the secret sauce. If you can get this one core idea, everything else about web design will just click into place. The secret is, on the web, everything is a box.
This is what we call the CSS box model. It just means that to a web browser, every single HTML element, whether it's a paragraph, an image, a heading, you name it, is treated as a rectangle, a box. And this box has 4 distinct layers that we can fiddle with. So, right at the center, you have your actual content, your text or your image. Wrapped around that, you have padding, which is like internal breathing room. It's space inside the box. Then you have the border, which is the visible line around it. And finally, on the very outside, you have the margin. The margin's job is to create space outside the box, pushing other elements away.
Now here's a little gotcha that's super important. By default, when you tell a box to be, say, 300 pixels wide, the browser actually adds the padding and the border on top of that, making your box bigger than you expected. It's a bit confusing. That's why most developers immediately switch to this alternate model. It makes the padding and border count towards the total width you set, which is way more intuitive.
So, let's recap. We have our structured content thanks to HTML. We have our style rules and this everything is a box model from CSS. So, what does that actually let us do? What can we build with this foundation?
Well, once you start thinking of everything as a box, you realize you can become an architect. You can arrange those boxes into these complex, perfectly aligned grids. You can create these awesome responsive layouts for things like project portfolios, photo galleries, anything you can dream up.
What it really gives us is control. Precise, pixel-perfect control over the placement, the color, and the spacing of every single thing on the page. And that's how we build everything from a clean, simple blog to a huge, complex e-commerce website. It's all just styling and arranging boxes.
So there you have it. From a simple text skeleton to a fully styled, beautiful creation. That powerful duo of HTML structure and CSS's style is the engine that drives the entire visual web. It's a simple foundation, but it's the key to everything you see online. You now have those keys. So the only question left is, what will you build?